Okay, so I am here with Jamie Rife, who is the Executive Director of HOST, the Department of Housing Stability with the City of Denver. And Jamie, I'm so glad to be with you and that you would join us for Conversations on a Bench. So thank you for being here.
Thanks, Dennis. I'm really excited to be here and really appreciate the invitation to talk about it today. Thanks.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I'm just really grateful for just the way that we work together and partner together. And but I was thinking about the fact that there might be some people that will tune into this that don't really know what HOST is or what role you play. So it might be helpful for you to just give us an overview of HOST and how important you guys are to the work that we're doing.
Sure. Great question, Dennis. I'm always happy to talk about my department. I'm really proud of the work that we do. So we are the Department of Housing Stability. So we oversee like two main areas of work. So the first is housing stability and homelessness resolution, meaning we're trying to keep people in their homes before they face homelessness or eviction. So we have prevention work. So again, trying to keep people in their homes. Then we have when someone does experience homelessness, what happens then? So we have street outreach, people out looking for people staying outdoors. They then bring them hopefully into places like the rescue mission or others where people experiencing homelessness go into shelter. And then also kind of that's one big umbrella of work. And then there's homelessness resolution where homelessness ends in a home. And so we try to get people back into stable housing, whether that be, staying with a relative or, through a voucher or some of our rental subsidy programs. And then lastly, that is kind of the homelessness side. We also oversee affordable housing for the city and county of Denver. So whether we're building affordable housing or we're trying to make sure that homes stay affordable, it's everything from rental property all the way to home.
Wow, it's no wonder that you're busy because one of those things alone would be a lot of work, and all of the things that you're doing. One of the things that I find myself saying a lot, I've been here for 2 years now, and I get asked by a lot of people back home about the city and about government's role. And, one of the things that I always say is I think it's a blessing to be in Denver because there are a lot of cities around this country and frankly, even in our state where the city doesn't see their role. They don't feel as if they have a responsibility to help solve this problem. So why do you think Denver is unique in that way? And why do you think that the city of Denver is saying, okay, we have a role to play, we have some responsibility, so HOST exists and other.
Yeah, great question. So I will say we're kind of a new department. We were formed at the end of 2019. So I'd say before then, the city had a role, but it wasn't quite as strong as it is now. Mm-hmm. And so in 2020, there was a ballot initiative passed that created what's called the Homelessness Resolution Fund based on a sales tax. And that really gave this department the ability to stand something up and have a little bit of ongoing funding. This was in the midst of COVID as well. Yeah. So our department was formed, and 4 months later, we went into COVID. And so we had to stand up, shelters everywhere, make sure there was social distancing. So we were formed in this time of uncertainty. And so then now past COVID, I think we're in this point where we're like, what is our role? How do we work best with all the providers? I will say this. I've lived in a lot of places in the country, and the providers here are very dedicated to our work. They're very easy to work with. We get along together. And I think that is really critical, and part of Denver's DNA is how well the city and providers, nonprofit community, we all work together and have a shared goal. I will say we have seen and continue to see a lack of federal resources for this issue. Mm-hmm. And in that absence, cities are left having to do things because none of us wants to see anyone experiencing homelessness. And so someone has to pick it up and someone has to figure out what to do. And a lot of time that does end up being cities just because there hasn't been a lot of federal investment.
Yeah, and that's really important because, I've just always believed that to really make the biggest impact, to have the biggest impact, or to make the biggest difference, I guess is what I'm trying to say, it really does take the entire community, right? Government has a role to play, nonprofits, ministries, businesses, churches, private philanthropy. But it gets really hard for cities in particular to make a big impact or to partner with other organizations when you're continually having funding cut or funding challenges. And then the snowball starts, right? Because then homelessness increases, and then there's more people in business doorways and on the corners. And so it's so important that we do find and use the resources that we have. So I don't know if there's a question in there other than maybe I'm just like in solidarity with you on your last statement. But where do you see this going? Do you think I'm not asking you to crystal ball this, but do you think funding is going to be such a concern going forward that we're at risk of seeing homelessness grow even faster? Or
yeah, I think don't have a crystal ball. Definitely not a psychic, but I think, what we are seeing is kind of this continued disinvestment in things like housing. We haven't seen the investment in housing increase with the cost of housing nationally.
Right.
And so what we know is going to happen is vouchers are going to be affected. In that's one of the ways that we build housing is we have vouchers that are part of that building so that a developer can count on that as part of their rent. So they can build the housing. So that's one thing we're going to see. I think some regulation change around that, and I am concerned about the amount of housing we are going to lose. And I think that is an area that's much harder for a city to kind of pick up because it is very complex and requires a certain way to finance it. So I do anticipate, I think, the number of unstably housed households will increase as we've seen, during COVID and all of that. A lot of people just can't pay their rent here in Denver. Over 50% of people that live here are cost burden, meaning they pay more than 30% of their income every month to rent. And when we start to see, the economy going down and people losing jobs, all of those things affect a person's ability to keep, a roof over their head. So I think we will see that. In the midst of that, we are doing things that are different and new and innovative here in Denver. So, one of the things we did is stand up hotels and micro communities. We have done a historic reduction in the number of people that are forced to stay outdoors every night. And so, and partners like you have been part of the collective work to make that happen. And we know that people don't have to stay inside. They can come indoors to a place like a hotel, a micro community, or like what Denver Rescue Mission does, which is, a shelter. And then we all work together collectively to get them on a path to housing. We are not going to stop doing that. We have to double down, and we just have to think about our resources a little bit differently, I think, now, and be a little bit more.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, I can even speak personally I moved here almost 2 years ago now. And I can remember when I was interviewing for this job, and my wife and I would come to Denver and we'd walk around downtown and there were tents everywhere. And, I was like, wow, this I get every direction that I look, and now you can go downtown and that's not the case. And we know that in many circumstances, those people have been helped. They've, whether it's the initial help of shelter or a hotel, or whether it's where we all want them to be, which is in housing. So, I've seen the progress just personally with my own eyes. How important is it, in your view, and you've talked a little bit about this already today, but how important are the partnerships?
Yeah, they are critical. I'm going to repeat that. They are critical. We cannot do this work without partnerships. And I think that's, again, something we do really well in Denver is we partner together and try to delineate what our lanes are. So we're not all doing the same thing. And we're like, oh, I'm provider A. I'm really good at this thing, so let me do this thing, but I'm not going to do what provider B does. Right. And I think we are really good at coordinating that throughout Denver, and also just talking about where are their gaps. What do we need someone to be doing and stepping into? And so it is absolutely critical. Government, in my opinion, cannot do this on their own. They can't. We can help fund things, but you all are experts at running shelters. You all are experts at all the things that you do. And so let the experts do the work
Yeah.
And understand what everyone's like value add is to this.
Yeah, I agree. So one of the things, as I was saying earlier, that I really believe is that homelessness is a solvable issue. If you had to pick one thing that as a community, not necessarily government or a nonprofit, but as a community, if you had to pick one thing that you think we could do or could do better to have a greater impact, what might that be?
Oh, that's a hard one, Dennis.
Last
That's a
one's
hard
always
one.
the hardest.
Is that why we're on a bench?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think, I would say us continuing to work to understand the problem. I think we've made really great progress on understanding in real time who's experiencing homelessness. This is something that we talk about, and this is not like the most exciting answer for people watching this potentially, right? But if you don't understand something, you can't solve it.
Right.
And so for years, decades even, we've relied on a single point in time count that happens the last 10 days of January to mark progress and understand who's experiencing homelessness. That is a snapshot in time.
Mhm.
What we need is a movie. And to be able to understand any day, anytime, who is outdoors, who's in your shelters, who's on their path to housing. And so we've gotten really close, but you can't solve an issue you don't understand. And so us continuing to get to know everybody, their name, their situation, and have, that shared database, the homeless management information system, be the source for what people's needs are. And that also gives us great data on what are our housing needs, what, how many outreach workers do we need, all of these things that we collectively think through. But we need to be able to understand the issue in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm being told by Stephen, our producer, that our time is up. That went really fast.
It always does, Dennis.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us, and just really grateful for you and all the work that you do and your team, and for our partnership. And so if nobody has thanked you today for what you guys do, let us be the ones that say thank you.
I really appreciate that. Right back at you. And that statement really makes my day. I appreciate that. Yes.